bathrooms, or just out through this door to the left and then on the left. Okay, so I'm going to start with a land acknowledgement. Eastern Edge would like to respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the unceded and ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, and that Ukhtahumruk, known as the island of Newfoundland, is the traditional homeland of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk. We also acknowledge Labrador as the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Innu of Nitassinan, the Inuit of Nunatsiavut and Nunatuckavut. We recognize all First Peoples who were here before us, those who live with us now, and the generations to come. This acknowledgement is a commitment that we practice in action to work in a spirit of truth and reconciliation, striving for respectful relationships with all people across Riddle Island. I will now introduce Natalie. Natalie is a self-taught oil painter born in St. John's, Newfoundland. Natalie's oil paintings combine bold and experimental details of visual realism while incorporating surrealistic elements. Her influences range from contemporary conceptual artists such as Miles Johnson and Jen Mann to old masters like John Singer Sargent. Her work centers around how we identify and cherish our internal landscape. At the age of 21, after completing a Bachelor's of Science degree in psychology, Natalie moved to Toronto to follow her childhood dream of becoming an artist. This shift in location allowed her to become attuned to the disconnect between her true self and cultivated perception. She has spent the last couple of years dedicating her time towards self-discovery and art practice, leaning into the acceptance that both are inseparable from each other. She invites you to question the comfort of nature and the nature of comfort. And you can go ahead with your talk.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here and kind of share a little bit of my first show with you. So I kind of just want to talk a little bit about me and a little bit of like the process involved in painting and a little bit of my experience being like a freelance artist over the last couple of years. And then we'll have, I guess, a little bit of questions at the end. So yeah, my name, as Ashley said, is Natalie Esther. In my art practice, I go by Natalie Esther, so that's my middle name. To keep it really simple, I just didn't like signing my last name on my paintings. I just found the H really annoying. So I was like, I like the way this Esther is working out, so I went with that. And as Ashley mentioned, I'm self-taught and I was born in St. John's. And our work really centers around lately how we cherish like our internal landscape. So I used to paint a lot more landscapes and more still life, and now I kind of want to like integrate that into more like portraiture. So now I'm going to show you guys some photos of my early work. I don't have any. So jokes aside, I did draw a lot as a kid. This is literally the slide. So from like junior high through like university, I don't really have like one of those portfolios or kind of journals of anything. It was kind of like drawing and having scraps around kind of thing. So yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about making art rather than doing it. I definitely was like journaling and that kind of thing, but yeah, I don't have like many sketchbooks or like a portfolio or anything. So I took it really seriously, but to the point where like I didn't really make a whole lot of stuff. I just thought like quality over quantity, but then I don't really have much to show. But yeah, that's like my only regret is that I wish I just made more stuff to like have it to look back on. So yeah, I guess pre all of this would be like a good time to start, I think. So yeah, I would say I've been like into art and drawing and kind of creating ever since I can remember. Favorite medium, macaroni noodles. Loved some glitter glue. But yeah, I knew around like 4 or 5 that kind of this was what I wanted to do. I just didn't know that like you could do it. I just thought you had to be like really, really, really old. I don't know. I thought you had to be like 80 years old to do it. I don't really know where I got that. But yeah, so it wasn't until like truly my last month of university that I was kind of looking around and was like, oh, like I actually really want to do that. So I kind of took the leap. And yeah, I think the big pivotal moment for me was I went on YouTube, I watched this one girl, she was like my age and she was self-taught, and she was like, these are all the things you need to buy And then I went out and I just went to Michael's and bought them all. And then that was kind of it. I found a few mentors online, and then I kind of was spending a lot of my time like watching how they were doing that. So yeah, that's kind of my little younger self. So that leads me to moving. I moved to Toronto in 2018, so like I graduated in May and then I moved in September. So after I completed my degree, I moved away to pursue my dream. One of my good friends, Kelsey, she's actually one of the portraits in the show. She dropped out of our program and she was like, I want to do photography. And I was like, you're crazy, but actually I kind of want to do the same thing. But I'm going to finish my degree. So I was like, I did want to finish doing psychology. I thought I might want to be a counselor. Turned out I just wanted a counselor. I didn't. So yeah, I finished that, enjoyed that, but I knew that like this was kind of what I wanted to do. So yeah, this really gave me the push when she moved to do what I wanted to do. And yeah, this felt very like instinctual to me. It wasn't really something that I thought a lot about. It was like kind of weird because I'm very like analytical. But yeah, this really allowed me to kind of become, I guess, integrated with like that picture you saw of me when I was younger. And yeah, I kind of surrounded myself with a lot of like-minded people. I worked part-time in an art store, volunteered for a lot of different like art events and things like that. Yeah, I just found a lot of like synchronistic opportunities started happening. So then I'm just going to show a few of like the drawings and things I was doing when I started to move. So I hadn't really started painting yet. I had all the supplies, but I was too scared to touch them. So yeah, I started like journaling and drawing a lot of hands. I was like really fixated on hands, and writing a lot about like hesitancy about wanting to be an artist. So like conceptual, we were still conceptual about it. But then I started kind of thinking a lot about like the possibility and stuff. So then I was drawing and then turning them into paintings. So funny enough, I don't really draw as much anymore. Not because I don't like it, it's just a lot of time to draw this out, as you can see on the bottom, and then to paint over it. Like that's not a new one, that's the same drawing, which makes me kind of sad. I wish I like had the drawing. So I don't really do like under drawings anymore. So it's kind of cool to look back and kind of see what I was doing a few years ago. But yeah, I started oil painting, I think, in September. And then all these works are really, really small. So I was doing like super tiny, like 4x6 paintings and things like that. Fast forward, moving home. So that was about 2 years, and then sadly I moved home due to COVID, so it wasn't really my plan. I was just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. But I like to call this quarantine my artist retreat that I did twice, almost 3 times. So that was like a month and a half of like very much alone time. I got to like figure out kind of what I wanted to do moving forward. This was really a silver lining for me because I didn't want to move home, but then it presented like a lot of new opportunities, obviously like this show. So I spent more time learning about filmmaking, so I didn't really know much at this point, but I knew that I wanted to start documenting my paintings. Like I wanted to learn photography. I didn't know anything, I didn't really have a good camera, and I journaled a lot as well. And this was the time when I started networking, so I really started like reaching out to local galleries and like when we went on trips, like I was trying to find like those like small connections that would kind of add up to be, like bigger moments. But yeah, most importantly, I would say this period was really about like the mental shift of like knowing that I am an artist, like you are one, and like not that you're becoming one, because like you're already doing it, you know? So that was for me, instead of like thinking about all the things I was doing, it was more like the talk of like, you're doing it, you know? So yeah, like credentials for me doesn't always necessarily matter, like it's important, but I think, I think it's important to just know what you do. And then I will show a few pictures of my like work, so after I moved. So this was one of my favorite paintings I've ever done. So 2020 onward, I'd say is all of my paintings that I've done that I kind of showcase. So very focused on like portraiture, realism, and this was when I started realizing you didn't have to paint on canvas. So this is on a wood panel, so most of the paintings that I do now, all the ones in the gallery, are on wood. But yeah, this painting really changed like the game for me because I realized there's just like this level of technique that you can only achieve, and then it becomes like more emotional, and like I want people to feel connected and things. And then I have this one. This is my friend Katie. She might be here, she might not be here. And so yeah, same thing. It's like trying to elicit emotion. I started painting my friends. Taking my own references was really important for me. So pushing beyond like the technical abilities of painting, I guess, like the proportions and things like that. And I really just wanted to feel emotion. Basically, I want you to cry. That was kind of what I'm going for. So then I'll talk a little about my process. Kind of like how I do a bit of free painting. So whenever I'm doing like the markets and stuff, people are like, why do you paint like this, or why do you oil paint? It seems like really hard. I don't like anything else. So that's my answer. I don't like acrylic, it dries too fast. I don't like watercolor because you have to start with the lightest colors and then the darkest colors. This is like, for some reason, it just works for me. So like I do joke, thank God, like I found that, but truly, I don't know. It's like if you're a musician, like I know I want to do this, but like I hate all these instruments. Like what am I supposed to do? It's kind of what it feels like. So yeah, I feel like it kind of came into my life at the right time, and I don't really see myself stopping anytime soon. I find oil paint really forgiving. It's very manipulative. You can make it dry in a few hours. You can make it dry in 2 weeks. And also you can paint over it. That's the best part. So if it dries, you can paint over it like nothing ever happened. And it teaches me a little patience, which is really nice. So then I just have a few pictures of my little setup, which isn't very accurate. It doesn't always look like this. This is what I try to strive for at the beginning of something. So like right from the beginning, I mix out all my colors, I have it nice and clean, and then it never looks like that again until the painting's finished. But I do start out like this. I really try to have like this like optimistic attitude about it. And I'd say one of the biggest things I learned from like the online like mentors I found was that you actually don't spend a lot of time on your canvas. Like all of this work is like pre-painting. So it's like the color mixing, the composition. Like I'm mostly spending time on the palette and not on the canvas or on the panels. So that was like a really big thing that changed for me. Instead of like blending on the canvas, I don't do any blending on the canvas. It's all happening on the palette. Yeah, and then I just finish with this little time photo thing so you can kind of see the process. This one took me, I think, about a week or so. And you can kind of see that I really like to get the lighting right, which is really important. So I do a lot of thin layers over a period of a few days. And you can see that I go from dark to light, like I was saying. So I put in the darkest shadows, and then I kind of build up to like the last, the highlights. And so there's this technique called alla prima, which means wet on wet. So it's like a one-sitting painting. A lot of painters do that. I never really tried it. I want to try it, but it feels very intimidating to do painting in like 7 hours in one sitting. So I like to let them dry in between, and then I add layers, which means you have to mix your colors every single time, which is actually really good practice. So instead of like when I was younger, I remember thinking, you just have to like have this paint wet for like once. Like no, you have to learn how to remix the same color and like match it and make sure it's always the same, which is like very challenging. But I found like this technique has really helped me precise the color matching. And then when I finished my paintings, I had a little varnish moment. So I just have this little video here, just showing how satisfying it is after waiting weeks for it to dry, and then you've got all the layers dried up and it's really matte, and like see how it like pops. So satisfying. I'd say this is my favorite part of it all. Oh, so good. Yeah, just wanted to show a little clip of that. And then that brings us to now. So currently, this photo was taken last year at the Eastern Edge Members Show. So that's kind of my first group show that I've done. So yeah, I've been really trying to get into more gallery work and commissions. And I have an online shop where I sell my prints and things like that. And I have some work in some shops downtown. And also the St. John's Farmers Market I do on some of the Saturdays as well. And yeah, as Ashley mentioned, I've spent the last couple of years kind of merging this like, who am I with what I like to do, and kind of realizing that they're inseparable and kind of accepting that it's hard, but yeah, I can't really see myself doing anything else. And yeah, I really want to explore some future ideas I have for hopefully some more shows. That would be the goal. So that brings us to now with this show. So I kind of want to start with the funniness of how this all started. So I spent, I would say, about 6 months painting everything except for this one. This was last year. So yeah, painting my friends and kind of coming up with this idea. But yeah, this is Emma. So I took this photo last winter, I think it was. We were just hanging out and skating up on Signal Hill. No intentions of this at all. This was just beautiful day, good lighting, like no editing of this picture. I think you knew the photo was taken, but it wasn't, like we didn't go to take pictures. I was like, can you just stop right there for 1 second? So I took this photo and I was like, this is like a really good photo. I'm obsessed with this photo. And this was kind of the beginning of the whole idea because I showed my friend Emily and she was like, this has to be something, like you have to do something about this. I was like, do something about it, like, and then I told Emily and she was like giving me all this good advice, so then I painted Emily, I took Emily's photo. So obviously as we go, we get more, I guess, planned because I was trying to come up with this idea. But that first photo of Emma was so, it was just like, we didn't have a plan, and I think that's probably my favorite part of this whole thing. And then I took my friend Michael's photo, and then I took my friend Colin's photo, and then my friend Kelsey, my friend Isabel. So they all have, as you can see, a similar composition, but I didn't have any plan. Like every day I went and I didn't have an idea of like, I didn't know if they were going to wear or anything. I knew I wanted them in like a certain pose, but yeah, it was all just kind of like off the top of my head. I just knew that based on her photo, I wanted them to all look very similar. And then I just have a photo of some of the process of painting. So as I said, I don't really do the drawings anymore. This is probably like the most accurate picture of what everything starts out with. So I do like a one color, it's called underpainting. So no drawings, it's just kind of like the basic shapes. Trying to like establish like some sort of person. I usually squint my eyes and I take off my glasses on purpose. That usually does the trick. But yeah, it's most of the time I would say spent getting this like the first layer, right? Like this one here and that one up there. I find the proportions really difficult. I still really struggle with like heads being too big, too small. So yeah. And then I kind of want to do a full circle moment. So I realized when I was making this presentation that hands, we're back to hands. I love drawing, painting hands. And seeing that first photo next to this is like so cool for me. It's like a full circle moment. And yeah, looking at this as well as like the details are so fun, and like that first initial stage is so hard and it's scary that this always pushes me through. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is the outcome. It's like a puzzle. You're like, obviously, you know, there's a reward at the end, but when I'm like halfway through, I'm just like, I could just stop, like no one would know, like, you know, but obviously when you're doing a show, you can't do that. But yeah, so I just kind of liked that full circle thing of having, having those hands there. So then, I guess I'll just talk quickly about the film. I always like knew that I wanted to do a short film to go with the paintings. I don't know why. I guess I realized later why I did. I'd say at first the idea was like process of painting, time lapse, color mixing, just kind of like aesthetically. I really wanted like the process of the painting, but actually it turned out to be something better. So I didn't have time to film all the paintings. I filmed 3 of them, and then I was like, would you rather film them or have them not done? So I was like, obviously we're going to get them done. So I stopped it halfway through at Collins and I was like, I can't do this. It was a lot. So I actually ended up using all the footage from the days, as you can see out in the gallery, of everyone that I took their photo. So there's like a reflection of like each person, and I realized that that's kind of my favorite part of this whole thing was like that first day. There was no like plan for any of this. It was just for fun, and then yeah, it ended up being my favorite part. I guess the only thing I did know about the film was that I wanted each person to have their own audio, so I don't really know a lot about mixing music, but I knew that I wanted the songs to be like individual for each person. So yeah, I would say this little video, I didn't like the idea of conceptual art being like, I don't know, it's like hard to interpret or it feels intimidating, but at the same time, I don't think you should just immediately go up to someone and be like, this is what it means to me. Like, I definitely want there to be time for someone to understand it. So this video was kind of like the perfect, like, if you don't really know where I'm coming from, you can watch that and get a little insight. And also, if you did already know where I was coming from, it just adds another layer. So it's like, ironically, it depends on the person. So it ended up being, I think, a really good addition. It's like less daunting is kind of where I'm going at. Like, I just want it to be like very inviting. And yeah, I don't think that painting and art has to be understood. I just think it needs to be accessible. So like, that's kind of where I was coming from. And then I just have a few quotes from the film, which you can watch out there. I think Ashley said a few of them I had in my little bio. But yeah, I just really wanted it to be about the irony of like what it means to look down. So when you think about looking down, you think about like looking down at this thing I did or this job or this person, and it feels very like closed off and resentful. And like the irony that we spend a lot of our days looking down and doing things very like naturally, and how beautiful that is. So that's kind of where I wanted this project to go. And I read this book called The Alchemist. I think my friend gave me a year ago or so, and I love that idea, like translated, like transforming like the physical self-care that we do into like a mental self-care. So I kind of like that in the paintings you can see everyone's doing something, but hopefully you can kind of feel what that feels like in your own way. So like you might not be, I don't know, crocheting, but like you've been in that spot where you're doing something that's really like in a flow state, and like how that feels for you. So like that's kind of where I wanted to go. And I kind of just want to show a few pictures of the video that I really liked. These are just some shots from the film. So it's Kelsey, Isabella, and Natalie. And then we have Emma and Colin. So definitely take a look at the film if you get a chance. The audio is, I'd say, my favorite part, so definitely go have a listen. And yeah, I just want to say thank you. Oh, I want to say one thing about this. Everyone knew that I was filming them except for Michael for some reason. I'm so sorry. I told everyone, I was like, I'm going to take a few clips of you and just like do what you're doing. Michael's turned out to be the best because he had no idea what was going on. So I just have to say, not sorry, but thank you. It was kind of nice. I didn't realize until it was made that you didn't have an idea. So yeah. I want to say this is one of the most like rewarding projects that I've done. It was really hard. It was kind of like, am I going to really do this? Like I've never painted this much in like such a short amount of time. And like the concept that I had to like kind of follow through. But yeah, I'm really like fortunate for this opportunity. I spend a lot of my time painting alone, so sad. But when I am around people, even then, I'm not really able to share like original work. It's a lot of like prints and ideas. So like to actually like see the paint, you know, that's kind of what makes it all worth it for me. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to Eastern Edge. I want to say thank you to my parents, my family, my friends, everyone for coming out today. This has been hard, but also like smooth, you know. It's been like a bit of both. Happy, sad, not to be dramatic, but like it was exhausting, like it wasn't. It was really fun. But yeah, I've just been really excited for it. So it feels so cool to like share with everyone. So yeah, thank you for coming. And that's it.
Do you want to take a question?
Yeah, if anyone had any questions, that was cool with me.
Where did you come up with the idea of the varnish?
The idea of it?
Like, did you, it just seems like frightening to pour it onto one of your paintings.
That's a good question. I don't remember. How did I learn about that? I don't know. I think it's like social media, you see a lot of like
the
people
first
doing
time
that.
you took one of your
I
pictures
messed it up.
Yeah, that's what I was
messed
wondering.
it up.
Like,
I
were you
didn't wait.
scared
I
to
didn't
do
wait
it?
long enough, and I actually put too much on it because I was so excited to make it look like that thing, and then I ruined it because it went through the whole painting and it was awful. So yeah, I don't know where I got the idea. I think I saw like online when people were pouring this stuff, and I googled it. I was like, what is this stuff? And what is this stuff that everyone's putting on? And there was like really smelly ones and really toxic ones. So I found this like not too expensive one from Michael's, and I tried it out, and I realized that like it makes the colors pop. Like it's kind of essential. It's kind of essential at this point. Like I can't imagine not doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
When
kind
you
of
see it
scary,
in
but
the
I know
video,
now. Pardon?
When you see it in the video, the way it makes the colors pop,
It
it's
pops
just
because
amazing.
everything dries really like matte, like it doesn't look true. So when I go into like get prints made, I'm like making sure that like I'm allowed to varnish it first because it's not going to look the way that you want it to look. Like all those paintings out there, I didn't varnish until a week before, and I was like, I just hope that I remembered that they looked how I wanted them to, because you can't look at them until you put the varnish on. But yeah, it's like my favorite part because I know now when it's dry and like what's going to happen.
Mhm.
But yeah, I had a few times where like it wouldn't stick or I messed it up, so not very fun. Yeah, it's probably like looking forward to that part the most, honestly, like when I started. I'm like, okay, don't forget, like you get to do that in like a few months. So yeah.
Why do you like painting on wood panels as opposed to canvas?
Oh, great question. I like that they're so smooth. I know a lot of people that paint with like thicker paint, they like the texture because I guess it like grips the paint. I like sanding, because I actually like sand it really well with like the gesso I put on, so you like put acrylic on, and then you sand it like really, really well. You could use like a thick sandpaper to get like a tooth in it. I don't, I want it like super smooth for some reason. I just love that when it's dry, you can like take the painting literally like this, and like you can't see anything. I just find that so cool. I do want to like try and experiment with other things. I'm getting very like, okay, this is the one thing I want to do forever. But yeah, like I just like how smooth the wood is, and I like the way that it looks on the wall. I don't know, but I'm really like down to go back to canvas. I just at the moment can't remember the way the wood was. Yeah.
How did you find the process of making the leap from, doing traditional art-based things to making a short film? And I was just kind of wondering if you had any other pre-existing skills from your paintings that you were able to kind of translate to
The film.
the movie.
That's a good question. I would say I remember when I used, so in Toronto, my roommate, she had a somewhat better camera than like I had, and I was like, I'm gonna try and like film some of the clips of my paintings just to like learn how to use a camera. Like I didn't know how. So like I started with like time lapses and very like, I don't know, traditional, or just like this is just filming the painting. Like I didn't know anything about how to make a shot or like B-roll. I didn't know any of these terms, but luckily I lived with two roommates actually who were into film. And I kind of watched them a lot. I was always like, what are you doing? What is that? Like, I want to just do that for free. Like, I don't want to do it as a job. I remember being like, I don't want to do this for a job. Like, I just want to know how I can incorporate it into like this kind of thing. So they were actually a huge part for me, like teaching me that it's not just about setting up a camera, where like I can do this. It's like there is a lot of like creativity that you need. But yeah, with the film, I don't know. I just think it felt very like necessary for me to try and challenge myself. So like when I went to like each person's house, I knew I had to take the photo, but then I almost forgot to take the photo because I was like taking all these clips and like really excited to like document that. And I guess I want to like look back on it too, like I want to watch this in like a few years and then cry. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing was like I did have like 2 or 3 people around me that were like doing film kind of seriously, and because they already had those like preliminary tools, they could show me quickly that I don't know all the technicalities of film. I don't really know how to use a lot of my camera settings, to be honest. I was just like, can you just get to the part where, how do I take a cool shot of my friend walking in a room and blah, blah, blah. And so they were kind of like, okay, like what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't really know, but I know that I'm just going to figure it out. But I did spend a lot of time on the internet, YouTube, like watching how to like figure out the programs and stuff. But yeah, very basic. I don't really know. I still don't know a lot. I'm excited to learn, I would say. More. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Thanks.